My hands quivered as I observed the pandemonium erupting around my meticulously adorned dining table. The festive illumination, which I had spent countless hours arranging, now cast accusatory silhouettes upon the faces I once believed I knew. Faces that had deceived me, betrayed me, and ultimately dismantled me. You knew, my husband's voice fractured. All colour leached from his countenance as he fixed his gaze upon the individual standing in our entryway, the man I had extended an invitation to, the man whose very presence was poised to detonate a catastrophic bomb, obliterating all that we had. A smile bloomed on my lips, devoid of warmth. It was the expression of someone who had meticulously orchestrated this precise moment over 6 agonizing weeks, enduring 6 weeks of internal torment, 6 weeks of feigning ignorance to the truth that had been relentlessly consuming me. "Oh, darling," I murmured, my tone as saccharine as poison. "You implored me to be mature about this, and I am." The woman beside him, his cherished former partner, the one he had insisted upon including in our family's Christmas Eve repast, turned as pallid as the snow blanketing the world outside. Her perfectly manicured hand shot to her mouth. She understood what was imminent, who was at our threshold. And then the genuine screaming commenced. But I am diverging from the timeline. Allow me to transport you back to the genesis of this profound nightmare, to the instant my seemingly idyllic existence was exposed as a gilded falsehood. Back 3 months to a time when I still held faith in the notion of enduring happiness, to the day I stumbled upon the communication. It was October the 15th. I recall the date vividly, for it marked our 7th wedding anniversary. 7 years of wedded bliss with Marcus Whitfield, the man I had adored since our college days, the man who had pledged his eternal devotion to me beneath a canopy of stars at a lakeside retreat in the Adirondacks, the man who had clasped my hand through 2 heart-wrenching miscarriages, assuring me that our family would materialize someday. 7 years and my heart still fluttered whenever he crossed the threshold. I had dedicated the entire day to preparing our anniversary feast, his preferred herb-crusted rack of lamb, accompanied by roasted potatoes and asparagus. I had acquired a new ensemble, a deep emerald green hue. The colour he always claimed made my hazel eyes resemble precious jade. I had kindled candles throughout our suburban abode in Atlanta, Georgia. Everything was flawless. Everything was a profound deception. Marcus's cellular device vibrated on the kitchen counter while he was showering. I was not prone to snooping. It was antithetical to my nature. Yet something in the persistent, urgent rhythm of its buzzing gnawed at my gut. The screen illuminated, displaying message previews from a contact labeled VH. "Can't stop thinking about last weekend. When can I see you again? Have you told her yet?" My extremities grew numb. The bottle of Cabernet Sauvignon I was clutching slipped, though I managed to intercept it before it met the floor. My heart pounded a frantic rhythm against my ribs, as if yearning to escape my chest. This could not possibly be what it appeared to be. There had to be a rational explanation. I unlocked his phone. I knew his passcode. It was our anniversary date. The sheer irony would have been darkly amusing had I not felt an overwhelming urge to retch. The messages loaded. I scrolled upward, my gaze absorbing words that felt akin to acid on my skin. "I miss your hands on me. She doesn't understand you like I do. Our place is to be together. It always has been." And Marcus's responses, "I know, I'm working on it. She's been so fragile since the 2nd miscarriage. I need to find the right time. Just be patient. You're the one I want. It's always been you." The phone detached from my grasp, clattering onto the granite surface. I grasped the edge of the countertop, fighting to maintain my composure. The room tilted precariously. The candles I had lit now seemed to taunt me, their cheerful flicker a cruel jest. I navigated back to the contact list. Victoria Hawthorne. Victoria, his college paramour. The woman he had dated for 3 years prior to meeting me. The woman he claimed remained a platonic friend, a claim I had readily accepted. The woman who occasionally graced his Facebook posts with a like, an action I had consistently dismissed as inconsequential. I meticulously reviewed the exchanges. The correspondence spanned 6 months. 6 months of clandestine nocturnal communiques. 6 months of declarations of love and longing. 6 months of joint aspirations for a future together. All while I remained at home, weeping over the children we were unable to conceive, blissfully unaware that my husband was purportedly toiling late at the office. There were images. I ought not to have opened them, but an irresistible compulsion seized me. Victoria adorned in lingerie. Victoria situated in what appeared to be a hotel suite. Victoria utterly unclad. Beneath one photograph, a caption read, "Waiting for you." And then I discovered it. A snapshot of the two of them, Marcus's arm encircling her. They were dining at a restaurant. I recognized the establishment, Beltline Bistro, downtown. I had suggested it for our anniversary, but Marcus had declared his disinterest in returning. The date stamp on the photograph, October the 8th, precisely 1 week prior. The shower ceased. I heard Marcus humming an unburdened melody as if he were entirely oblivious to the fact that he was presently eviscerating my heart. I carefully repositioned his phone to its original spot. My hands were now remarkably steady. A frigid resolve had taken root within me, encasing the panic, the pain, the fury, not eradicating them, but preserving them in a state of glacial suspension, awaiting a future reckoning. As Marcus entered the kitchen, a towel draped around his waist and water droplets glistening on his shoulders, he offered me a smile, the very same smile that had captivated me at 19, the very same smile that now felt like a weapon. "Something smells incredible," he remarked, bestowing a kiss upon my cheek. His lips felt like frost against my skin. "Happy anniversary, sweetheart." I reciprocated his smile, though I cannot fathom how I managed it. "Happy anniversary." We shared wine. He presented me with a necklace, a delicate gold chain adorned with a pendant. I found myself wondering if he had procured something more extravagant for Victoria. That night we made love, and I loathed every solitary second of it. I despised the sensation of his hands upon me, hands that had caressed her. I detested the pronouncements of affection he whispered, words devoid of any genuine meaning. But I refused to betray my inner turmoil. I performed the role of the devoted wife with absolute conviction, for I required time to strategize, to formulate a plan, to ascertain how best to wield the devastating truth that burned within my chest. I did not confront him then. No. Instead, I metamorphosed into a stranger, unrecognizable even to myself. For the subsequent 2 weeks, I meticulously documented every facet of their clandestine affair. I established a disposable email account and forwarded myself screenshots of their clandestine communications. I scrutinized our credit card statements, uncovering charges at hotels, restaurants, and a jewelry boutique where he had purchased her a bracelet valued at twice the cost of the anniversary necklace he had bestowed upon me. I retained the services of a private investigator. His name was Sam, a former police officer with eyes that conveyed empathy and a voice that, while gentle, could not entirely mask the pity when I disclosed my predicament. He was in considerable expense, but I possessed my own financial resources. I had been employed as a freelance graphic designer from home for years, diligently accumulating savings. Sam shadowed Marcus for a week. The evidence he meticulously gathered was exhaustive and utterly devastating. photographs of Marcus and Victoria meeting at various hotels, clandestine recordings of their embraces in parking structures, call logs revealing hours of conversation, always coinciding with periods when Marcus claimed to be engaged in professional meetings. But Sam unearthed something more, something that irrevocably altered the course of events. He presented me with a folder across the table at the coffee shop where we convened, his expression grave. "Mrs. Whitfield, there is something you must see." Within the folder lay a printed rendition of a Facebook post, Victoria's post, dated 2 days prior. The privacy setting was restricted to friends only, which explained my prior inability to access it. Sam possessed his own unique methods. The post featured a photograph of a ring, a diamond engagement ring, gracing Victoria's finger. The accompanying caption read, "He finally asked, can't believe I get to marry my best friend. Cheers to new beginnings. Engaged." The comments section teemed with felicitations. However, one particular comment sent a shiver down my spine. "Can't wait to meet him, bring him to Sunday dinner." Naomi Hawthorne, Victoria's mother. She was unaware of the fiancé's identity, implying that Victoria had neglected to apprise her family of her engagement to a married man. "There is more," Sam stated quietly. He slid another document across the table. "I conducted a background check on Victoria Hawthorne. She is not merely your husband's former girlfriend." I stared at him, my throat constricting. "What do you mean?" "She is a family therapist. Her specialization lies in marital counseling." He paused, allowing the weight of the revelation to settle, "and she has published numerous articles in various journals concerning ethics and professional relationships. Her entire career has been dedicated to establishing herself as an authority on healthy relationships." The irony was so profoundly acute it nearly elicited a choked laugh. "And the man she claims to be engaged to," I articulated slowly. "She cannot reveal his name to her family as Marcus because he remains legally bound to you," Sam concluded. "So either she is fabricating the engagement, or he is wavering, or he is planning on leaving me," I whispered. The lamb I had consumed threatened to resurface. Sam's expression softened. "I am deeply sorry, Mrs. Whitfield, but yes, the evidence strongly suggests that is the case." I gazed at the image of the ring. It was undeniably exquisite. A platinum band, an emerald-cut diamond, likely encompassing 3 carats. Marcus and I had been diligently saving for a down payment on a larger residence, one with ample space for the children we envisioned having. I had been diligently setting aside funds from each paycheck, forgoing personal desires because our future held paramount importance. Apparently, he had been accumulating wealth as well, though not for our shared future, but for hers. "There is one final piece of information," Sam disclosed. He now appeared visibly uncomfortable, as if poised to deliver a final shattering blow. I meticulously tracked his movements over the past 6 months, cross-referencing them with the calendar you provided. He produced a timeline. My eyes scanned the dates, and then I saw it. June the 15th, the day of my second miscarriage. The day I was hospitalized, hemorrhaging, gripped by a paralyzing fear that I was succumbing. The day Marcus claimed an urgent work obligation necessitated his departure for several hours. Sam had encircled that specific date. Adjacent to it was a time-stamped photograph. 2:47 p.m., Marcus and Victoria were checking into a Marriott hotel. While I was enduring the agonizing loss of our child, he was with her. The coffee shop dissolved into a blur. I was unable to draw a breath. Sam was speaking, his voice a distant murmur, inquiring if I was well, if I required water. But all I could perceive was that date, June the 15th, the nadir of my existence, and he had chosen to spend it with her. "Mrs. Whitfield," Sam's hand rested on my arm, a gentle yet firm presence. Breathe, simply breathe. I inhaled once, twice. Gradually, the world began to reassert its clarity. I'm fine, I lied, though I was anything but. I would never again be fine, but the phase of weeping and breaking had concluded. Something hard and sharp was coalescing within my chest, displacing my shattered heart. Thank you, Sam, I articulated, my voice remarkably steady. This is precisely what I needed. He studied me intently for a long moment. What do you intend to do? I gathered the documents, carefully reshelving them within the folder. I intend to secure legal counsel. And then I paused, an idea germinating, a chillingly perfect notion. And then I will wait. Wait for what? I inquired. A smile stretched across my face, feeling utterly alien, as if I were inhabiting someone else's skin. For the opportune moment. November the 1st, Marcus arrived home from his workplace bearing Chinese takeout and an uncharacteristic effervescence. He was noticeably agitated. I could discern it in the way he fumbled with the containers, the manner in which he averted my gaze. We settled at the dining room table. He cleared his throat thrice before initiating discourse. I wish to discuss something with you. He began, stirring his lo mein with a fork. Regarding Christmas, I took a sip of water, observing him over the rim of my glass. What about Christmas? Well, you know how we typically observe a quiet Christmas. Just us, perhaps your sister. My sister Lauren, who had planned to join us this year with her husband James and their 2 cherished children. My precious niece and nephew, whose presence had offered a modicum of solace for my own childlessness. Yes, I replied, my tone measured. Marcus inhaled deeply. I was contemplating a departure from our usual tradition this year, perhaps opening our home to more individuals, making it more inclusive. Inclusive? I echoed the word, its taste like bitter ash. I encountered an old acquaintance from college recently, he continued, his fabrication flowing with unsettling ease and practiced precision. Victoria Hawthorne, you recall her, don't you? I've mentioned her to you previously. Oh, I recalled her. I possessed an entire dossier dedicated to her remembrance. Vaguely, I responded. Well, he pressed on, his eyes beseeching, she is navigating a difficult period. Her entire family resides in Tampa, and she is unable to travel this year due to professional commitments. She will be alone on Christmas. He finally met my gaze, his eyes pleading. I thought it would be a thoughtful gesture to extend an invitation to her, to spread some holiday cheer. The sheer audacity, the breathtaking, unmitigated audacity. He regarded me as if I were a problem requiring a solution, as if my reaction constituted the sole impediment between him and his desired outcome, and his desire was to convene us both at the same table, his wife and his paramour, sharing sustenance and celebrating the birth of Christ. I could have erupted in a furious outburst. I could have hurled the Chinese food directly into his face. I could have produced the folder brimming with evidence and revelled in his discomfort. But I refrained, for a superior plan had taken root, a plan that had been meticulously developing since my encounter with Sam, a plan that necessitated Marcus believing he was receiving precisely what he desired. I set down my glass and clasped my hands on the table. Of course, Marcos, I conceded, his eyes widening in surprise. Of course, yes, if she is to be alone during the holidays, she absolutely should join us. That embodies the true spirit of Christmas, does it not? Kindness, generosity. A smile touched my lips. I will even prepare something special. The palpable relief that washed over his features was astonishing. He reached across the table, clasping my hand. Thank you, babe. Thank you for being so understanding. This is precisely why I adore you. You possess the most magnanimous heart. I returned his grip, my smile unwavering. Naturally, my dear, I want you to be happy. And indeed I did. I wanted him to experience happiness, right up until the moment I orchestrated his downfall. Following our meal, while Marcus was engrossed in television, I retreated to our home office and activated my laptop. I had dedicated the past few weeks to extensive research, delving into Victoria's life with the same intensity she had applied to infiltrating my marriage. I knew her place of employment, the Family Wellness Center, a prestigious therapeutic practice situated downtown. I knew her residence, a contemporary loft in Inman Park. I was acquainted with her routines, her preferred coffee establishment, her gym, and I had unearthed one additional critical piece of information discovered through a judicious application of social media sleuthing and a fabricated online persona. Victoria was indeed engaged, though she maintained a profound secrecy surrounding her fiancé. No images of him graced her social media profiles, his name remained undisclosed, only the ring and vague allusions to my love and my future. The comments from her acquaintances on the engagement announcement were particularly telling. When do we meet this mystery man? Girl, you're keeping him completely under wraps. He must be someone truly special. Can't wait for the wedding. It'll be back in Tampa, right? Just like you always planned. She was concealing him because he belonged to me. But what Marcus and Victoria failed to comprehend, what they could not possibly fathom, was that I had ventured far beyond mere investigation. I had accessed Victoria's digital calendar, meticulously synchronized with her professional website's scheduling system, which boasted laughably inadequate security. A few educated guesses at the security questions sufficed. Her mother's maiden name was readily available public information. Her first pet's moniker was mentioned in an old college blog post, and with that I gained entry. And there, scheduled for November the 15th, was a dinner appointment, not with Marcus, but with family. I cross-referenced the date with her emails. Yes, I had infiltrated those as well. It transpired that individuals who expound upon ethics are frequently lamentable practitioners of cybersecurity. The email originated from an individual named Alex Ramos. The subject line read, "Can't wait to finally meet your family." I opened it, read it, then reread it, and subsequently a disbelieving laugh escaped me. Alex Ramos believed himself to be Victoria's intended. His emails overflowed with declarations of affection and eager anticipation of their shared future. He had proposed to her in August, near the Great Lakes. He was a pediatric surgeon who had relocated to Atlanta 6 months prior from Chicago. He remained blissfully unaware that the woman he adored was engaged in an illicit liaison with another man. Victoria was playing a dangerous double game. She had accepted Alex's proposal, adorned the ring he presented her, made arrangements to introduce him to her family, all while continuing her affair with Marcus, promising him a future, manipulating him with practiced ease. Initially, I struggled to comprehend her motivations, but then I examined the financial records Sam had furnished. Marcus, as a senior software engineer, earned a substantial income, but it did not equate to the financial standing of a surgeon. Alex likely commanded a salary 4 or 5 times that of Marcus. Victoria was strategically hedging her bets. Or perhaps she was simply a sociopath who derived pleasure from such intricate deceptions. Regardless, she had committed a critical error. She had profoundly underestimated me. I consulted the calendar. November the 15th was a mere 2 weeks away. Christmas was 6 weeks thereafter. I initiated a new email composition within my anonymous account, the one I had established specifically for this clandestine operation, and began typing, "Dear Dr. Ramos, you do not know me, but I know you. More importantly, I am aware of Victoria Hawthorne, your fiancée. I am writing because I believe you deserve to be apprised of the truth concerning the woman you intend to marry." I understand this email may seem unhinged. You are likely contemplating its immediate deletion, but before you do, I implore you to inquire of Victoria regarding Marcus Whitfield. Ask her his identity. Inquire as to her whereabouts on October the 8th, October the 15th, October the 22nd. Ask her why she has scheduled 2 separate dinner engagements for Christmas Eve. You appear to be a man of integrity, Dr. Ramos. You deserve more than deceit. Should you require substantiation of my claims, I invite you to respond to this correspondence. Otherwise, I extend my sincerest wishes for your good fortune. You will undoubtedly require it. Sincerely, a friend. I hovered my cursor over the send button. This was it, the precipice of irrevocability. Upon transmission, the dominoes would commence their inevitable cascade. I clicked. The email vanished into the digital void. I leaned back in my chair, my heart pounding a furious rhythm. Phase 1 was successfully executed. Now all that remained was to await the unfolding consequences. Alex Ramos responded in under 3 hours. Who are you? How do you know Victoria? What proof do you possess? I was prepared. I had dedicated days to meticulously orchestrating this response. I uploaded selected screenshots to a secure file sharing platform. Nothing overtly graphic. My intention was not to traumatize the man, but to convey the undeniable truth. Time-stamped text exchanges between Marcus and Victoria. Photographic evidence of their clandestine meetings. Hotel receipts. I transmitted the link to him with a singular poignant sentence. I am profoundly sorry, you deserve better. He did not reply immediately. I envisioned him accessing the files, his world fracturing just as mine had weeks prior. A fleeting pang of guilt pierced me. He was an unwitting casualty, collateral damage in this elaborate scheme, but he needed to know. More than that, I needed him to know, for Alex Ramos represented the final indispensable component of my meticulously constructed plan. 3 days later, another email arrived. I confronted her. She vehemently denied everything, asserting, "You are some crazy ex of mine trying to stir up trouble." But the photographs? I do not know what to believe. Who are you? Why are you doing this? I had anticipated such a denial. Victoria was a master manipulator. It was entirely consistent with her character to attempt gaslighting him. I replied, "I am not his ex-girlfriend. I am Marcus Whitfield's wife. Verify the marriage license if you doubt my veracity." Marcus Whitfield and I were legally wed 7 years ago in Atlanta. We remain married, reside together, and share a bed. Victoria is engaged in an illicit relationship with my husband. This has been ongoing for 6 months, and she intends to spend Christmas Eve with us, within my home at my table, partaking in the meal I prepare. You and I are both victims in this scenario, Dr. Ramos. We are being manipulated by the same 2 individuals. However, unlike you, I will not passively acquiesce to this ongoing deception. My husband has extended an invitation to Victoria for our Christmas Eve dinner. He instructed me to handle the situation with maturity, believing me to be unaware. He envisions me as the naive wife who will gracefully serve coffee to his mistress. Here is my proposal. You and I will grant them precisely what they desire. A delightful Christmas dinner. All of us together, a harmonious, unified family. They wish to have their cake and consume it too. Will inflict upon them a severe case of discomfort that will linger indefinitely. If your interest lies in seeing the truth revealed, please respond to this electronic message. Otherwise, I completely understand. You have the option to discard this and attempt to resume your life, but they will not emerge victorious. Not without facing repercussions. The decision rests with you. I sent it and then I waited. This was the risk involved. Alex had the choice to go to Victoria, to present her with the emails, and to issue a warning. He could have disregarded my request entirely. He could have even approached the authorities, though my actions were entirely lawful. Alternatively, he could have acted as I had hoped. 2 days elapsed, then a third. I began to suspect that my judgment was flawed, that Alex Ramos might opt for the easiest route, cut his losses, end his relationship with Victoria, and simply move on. Then, on the fourth day, my phone vibrated, signaling an incoming email. "Count me in, Jimmy Canada Skiaga." A smile spread across my face, not a pleasant one, but the smile of a woman who had secured an ally in her quest for retribution. I dispatched a reply containing the specifics: the designated time, the location, what to anticipate. I instructed him to feign surprise, to appear utterly distraught, and to hold nothing back. His response was concise: "Trust me, I won't need to pretend." The weeks leading up to the Christmas holiday felt profoundly unreal. I navigated them as if I were an actress performing in a play, hitting my cues, reciting my lines, all the while acutely aware that the final act would bring the entire production crashing down. Marcus now spoke of Victoria incessantly, given his belief that I had come to terms with the situation. He would interject comments like, "Oh, Victoria suggested this superb dining establishment," or "Victoria and I were quite fond of this particular song back in our university days." Each mention served as a subtle interrogation. I recognized he was probing my reaction, testing the limits of my tolerance. I aced every test with flying colors. "That's wonderful, my dear. How delightful that you two have reconnected. I'm eagerly anticipating meeting her." That final statement gave him pause. We were in the kitchen and he was busy dicing vegetables for a stir fry. His knife halted mid-chop on the cutting board. "You have already met her," he stated cautiously. "At the alumni barbecue a few years ago, remember?" "Yes, I recall. Victoria was accompanied by some forgettable companion and barely acknowledged me. She spent most of the event engaged in conversation with Marcus, laughing at his anecdotes and touching his arm. At the time, I dismissed it. I believed I possessed sufficient confidence to be unconcerned by an ex-girlfriend. Good heavens, how utterly naive I had been. "Oh yes, that's right," I said as I loaded the dishwasher. "My memory isn't very clear. There were so many people present." "Well, you will have the opportunity to get to know her better during the Christmas festivities," Marcus announced. He sounded genuinely pleased, even delighted, that his wife and his mistress would be forging a bond over roasted lamb. "I am planning a truly elaborate feast," I declared. "Lamb, ham, all the trimmings. It will be a Christmas Eve to be remembered." "You are remarkable. Did you know that?" He approached me from behind, encircling my waist with his arms. I felt an utter void, less than nothing. His touch was akin to an embrace from a stranger. "I don't deserve you." "You're quite right," I concurred softly. He chuckled, mistaking my sincerity for jest. He kissed my neck and then returned to his culinary preparations. I allowed myself a subtle smile. The 15th of December. Victoria sent a message to Marcus. I was privy to this because I had duplicated his phone's contents. Yes, I acquired the skill to do so. There are instructional guides for virtually anything available online, provided one searches diligently. Victoria: "Counting down to Christmas Eve. What should I contribute, Marcus?" Marcus: "Just your presence. My wife is handling all the arrangements." Victoria: "Is she truly comfortable with this? Doesn't she find it peculiar?" Marcus: "She is a saint. Her trust in me is absolute. She suspects nothing." Victoria: "Luckiest man alive. I shall play the role of the perfectly appreciative guest, and you're still planning to visit my place afterward, correct?" "I have a special surprise for you, Marcus." Marcus: "Wouldn't miss it for anything. Love you, Victoria." Victoria: "Love you more." I perused the exchange while seated on the edge of the bathtub in the bathroom, my hands trembling from the icy grip of my fury. He intended to depart from our Christmas Eve dinner to spend the night with her, to exchange gifts with her while I was left, to clear the dishes and maintain the pretense of everything being perfectly fine. I forwarded the captured conversations to Alex. He responded instantaneously. "I will obliterate them." "Not yet," I typed back. "Wait until Christmas Eve. It will be exceptionally worthwhile." My sister Lauren called that week to discuss our Christmas arrangements. I had been deliberately ignoring her calls, knowing she would detect a disturbance in my voice. Lauren and I shared a profound connection, more so than most siblings. She had been my steadfast support through the miscarriages, the sole individual capable of eliciting laughter from me even during the bleakest moments. "Hello, you spectral being," she greeted me upon my eventual answer. "I was beginning to believe you had ceased to exist." "My apologies," I responded, infusing my voice with forced cheerfulness. "Work has been exceptionally demanding." "Indeed, and how is Marcus faring?" "He is well, excellent, in fact." "You are an abysmal liar. What is truly troubling you?" I closed my eyes. The urge to confide in her was overwhelming. I yearned to weep into the phone and reveal everything, but I could not. Not at this juncture. Lauren would insist on rectifying the situation, on confronting Marcus, on safeguarding me, and that would jeopardize everything. "Nothing is wrong," I stated. "I'm simply feeling the strain of the holiday season." "Actually, that's precisely what I wish to discuss with you. A change in our Christmas Eve plans." "Oh, not disappointed. We're not attending." "No, you are attending. However, Marcus has extended an invitation to an old college acquaintance who would otherwise be alone, so the gathering will be larger than initially anticipated." "No issue whatsoever. The more the merrier. Who is this acquaintance?" "Her name is Victoria. She is, in fact, his former girlfriend." A silence followed, then, "Excuse me, what?" "He has invited his ex-girlfriend to our family Christmas Eve dinner." "It's not quite like that," I interjected swiftly. "They are merely friends now. She is experiencing a difficult period. We are extending a gesture of kindness." "Uh-huh, and you are content with this arrangement?" "Of course, why would I not be?" "Because you are a human being with standard emotional responses." Lauren's tone was sharp. "All of this is rather unusual, you realize that, don't you?" "It's perfectly fine, Lauren, I assure you." "If you say so. However, if that woman oversteps any boundaries, I will certainly voice my concerns. You have been forewarned." I offered a smile, a genuine one this time. "Noted. I shall see you on Christmas Eve. We will be there, and I will be keeping a close watch on this Victoria." After concluding the call, I remained seated, the phone resting in my hand. Lauren's protective indignation on my behalf had chipped away at the icy facade surrounding my heart. For a fleeting moment, I allowed myself to experience it. The profound hurt, the sting of betrayal, the devastating sense of loss for the man I had once cherished. Then I suppressed it. There would be ample time for mourning at a later juncture. For the present, I had a task to complete. I opened my meticulously prepared plan document. Every element was falling precisely into place. Alex was scheduled to arrive at 9:30 p.m., a mere half hour after the commencement of dinner. I had provided him with a numerical code for the side entrance. Our residence is equipped with a sophisticated smart lock system that permits the creation of temporary access codes. He would enter independently, guided by the sounds of conversation emanating from the dining room. The expression on their faces would be utterly priceless. However, the revelation was merely the preliminary phase. I had conceived of far more, a great deal more. I had consulted with an attorney, widely recognized as the premier divorce lawyer in Atlanta, based on her formidable reputation. Her name was Vivian Porter, and she boasted a remarkable 98% success rate in securing for her clients precisely what they merited. Our initial consultation had been profoundly insightful. Adultery does not hold the same legal weight in divorce proceedings in Georgia as it does in some other jurisdictions, she had explained. Georgia is a no-fault state. However, infidelity can indeed influence alimony awards. Furthermore, if you can substantiate that marital assets were utilized to fund the affair, and the hotel and jewelry receipts strongly suggest this was the case, we can build a compelling argument for you to receive a more substantial portion of the marital estate. I have no desire for alimony, I informed her. I possess my own income. My primary objective is to retain the house, and I wish for him to be held accountable for his actions. Vivian offered a smile. It was reminiscent of my own smile these days, sharp and chilling. I believe we can arrange that, particularly if we can demonstrate emotional distress. The affair occurring during your miscarriage, for instance, a judge would likely find that particularly egregious. I departed from her office, having settled her retainer and with the divorce documents prepared for filing. I was merely awaiting one crucial element, the Christmas Eve dinner. As my objective extended beyond a mere divorce, I desired witnesses. I intended for everyone to be cognizant of Marcus and Victoria's transgressions. I wished for their shame to be public and enduring. Vivian had offered a word of caution. Are you certain about this course of action? It will inevitably be distressing for you as well, even humiliating. You could simply proceed with a discreet filing and move forward. However, discretion was not my aim. I wanted them to endure the same suffering I had experienced. I wanted them to relinquish possessions as I had lost mine. Marcus had pilfered my trust, my sense of security, my aspirations of a family. He had instilled within me self-doubt, making me feel as though I were irrational for experiencing fragility after the miscarriages, all while he was betraying me in the most profound manner imaginable. Victoria, who had cultivated a career assisting individuals in mending their relationships, positioning herself as an authority on ethics and trust, was simultaneously dismantling another person's marriage, engaging in intimacy with another's husband. They both merited a precipitous downfall. On the 23rd of December, 2 days prior to Christmas Eve, I visited the grocery store and procured all the necessary provisions for the celebratory meal. The cashier remarked upon the quantity of my purchases. "A grand Christmas celebration?" she inquired cheerfully. "Oh, it is certainly going to be an unforgettable occasion." That evening, Marcus returned home late. He bestowed a kiss upon my forehead and claimed he had been attending a colleague's farewell gathering. The deception flowed from him effortlessly now. Later, I examined his phone. He had been at Victoria's apartment. They had engaged in sexual activity, ordered Thai cuisine, and exchanged early Christmas presents. He had gifted her a trip to the Bahamas for the new year. She had presented him with an expensive engraved watch. The inscription read, "To my always and forever." The irony was that I had purchased the identical watch for him as a Christmas present, a Rolex I had diligently saved for over the course of more than a year. It lay wrapped beneath our Christmas tree. At that precise moment, I retrieved my gift from its festive hiding place. That night, I meticulously unwrapped it and substituted the watch within with something entirely different: the divorce documents. I rewrapped it, adorning it with exquisite paper and silver ribbons. I returned it to its position beneath the tree and retired for the night. Lauren, James, and their children arrived on Christmas Eve morning. My niece, Emma, who was 7 years old, rushed into my arms, and my nephew, Luke, aged 5, eagerly displayed his new toy truck. I embraced them tightly, inhaling the comforting scent of young children, sugar, shampoo, and an aura of pure innocence. "And Alara, are you weeping?" Emma inquired, gently touching my cheek. "Tears of joy," I assured her. "I am simply overjoyed to see you." Lauren observed me with concerned eyes, her gaze directed over the children's heads. She understood me too well, yet she refrained from pressing the issue. She merely assisted with their luggage and settled the children into the guest bedroom. Later that afternoon, we enjoyed a tranquil meal exclusively with family. Marcus was attentive and affectionate, the quintessential host. He engaged James in conversation about football, played with trucks alongside Luke, and complimented Lauren's recent haircut. He was remarkably adept at this charade, at presenting a facade, at being precisely what each individual required him to be. It prompted me to question if I had ever truly known him. After the children were tucked into bed, the adults convened in the living room, accompanied by glasses of wine. The fairy lights adorning the Christmas tree cast a soft, warm glow over everything. Bing Crosby's melodies played softly from the speakers. It resembled a scene lifted directly from a holiday film. "Well," Lauren remarked, swirling her wine, "tell us about this Victoria who is arriving tomorrow." Marcus glanced in my direction. I offered a smile, signaling my assent. "She is an old acquaintance from university," he stated. "We were involved for a period, but that was an eon ago. Ancient history. She's currently experiencing a challenging phase. Family matters." And I thought it would be a thoughtful gesture to include her. "That is remarkably generous," James commented. "That describes us perfectly," I declared, raising my glass. "Generous to an extreme." Marcus clinked his glass against mine, utterly oblivious to the subtle undertone in my voice. Lauren, however, detected it. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "And you are entirely comfortable with this arrangement?" She questioned me directly. "Your husband's former partner at Christmas Eve dinner?" "Why would I not be?" I countered. "I am secure in my marriage, am I not, my darling?" "Absolutely," Marcus affirmed, draping an arm around me. I leaned into him, playing my assigned role, but my mind was meticulously tracking the hours, less than 24 remaining until the performance of my lifetime. "Well, I eagerly anticipate meeting her," Lauren stated, and there was an unspoken inflection in her voice, perhaps a warning or perhaps a promise. "It will be quite interesting," I murmured softly. "Indeed, it certainly will." That night, I lay beside Marcus in bed, listening to the rhythm of his breathing. He drifted off to sleep with remarkable ease, as always, unburdened by guilt, his conscience undisturbed. I, on the other hand, remained awake, staring intently at the ceiling. My thoughts drifted to all the Christmas Eves we had shared. The very first one in our cramped apartment, when we were so impoverished we could scarcely afford gifts, yet so deeply in love that it mattered little. The one following our first miscarriage, when we both mourned profoundly, clinging to each other, vowing to try again. And last year, filled with renewed hope, discussing the possibility of welcoming a baby to celebrate with the following Christmas. It had all been a grand deception, or at least it had evolved into one. Perhaps he had once loved me, truly, but somewhere along the way I ceased to be sufficient. No, that was not entirely accurate. It was not a matter of my inadequacy. It was a consequence of his inherent brokenness. He was selfish. Tomorrow everyone would witness it. Tomorrow the mask would finally be removed. I turned over and at long last succumbed to sleep. My dreams were a disquieting tableau of shattered glass and crimson wine spreading like a viscous stain. I awoke at 6 in the morning. Adrenaline surged through my veins. Today was the day. I showered, dressing with meticulous care. I selected a crimson gown, appropriate for the festive occasion, yet undeniably bold. It was my attire for the impending battle. I applied my makeup with particular diligence. If I was destined to dismantle my life, I intended to do so while looking impeccably presentable. In the kitchen, I commenced the preparations for the meal. The lamb was in the oven, the potatoes peeled and boiling, the green bean casserole meticulously assembled, and the honey-glazed ham ready for its final roasting. I moved through these tasks with an almost mechanical precision, my muscle memory taking over while my mind leaped ahead to the evening's unfolding events. Lauren descended the stairs around 8 o'clock, drawn by the enticing aroma of coffee and cinnamon rolls. "You're up early," she remarked, pouring herself a cup. "Couldn't sleep, too excited," I replied, and it wasn't entirely untrue. She studied me over the rim of her mug. "You would tell me if something was amiss, wouldn't you?" I met her gaze directly. "Of course, you seem different. I'm not sure how to articulate it, but you appear as though you're—" She trailed off, searching for the appropriate word. "As though I'm what?" "As though you're anticipating something." How perceptive, my astute Lauren, always seeing too much. "I'm merely tired," I offered. "The holidays are always a bit stressful." She didn't seem entirely convinced, but just then the children thundered down the stairs, their energy brimming with the exhilaration of Christmas morning. The moment passed. We proceeded to open gifts. Emma received the doll she had been persistently requesting. Luke unwrapped a magnificent train set. Lauren and James exchanged presents, their gazes meeting with the easy affection characteristic of a strong, established marriage, the very kind I had once believed I possessed. Marcus presented me with a piece of jewelry, a pair of delicate, expensive earrings. I found myself wondering if he had selected them himself or if Victoria had offered her assistance. I expressed my gratitude, bestowed a kiss upon his cheek, and then handed him his gift. "Open it later," I instructed, "when you have the leisure to truly appreciate it." "Why not now?" he inquired, gently shaking the box. "It's personal," I explained. "A private matter just for us." He smiled, a look of pleased anticipation on his face, assuming it was something intimate. He set it aside. The morning unfolded in a blur of discarded wrapping paper and cheerful laughter. I meticulously captured numerous photographs. Emma and Luke engrossed in their new toys. The family gathered around the Christmas tree. Marcus beaming, radiating happiness, utterly unsuspecting. All of it served as evidence of the preceding era, the final moments before everything irrevocably changed. Lunch was a casual affair, consisting of sandwiches and leftover pie. Subsequently, Lauren joined me in the kitchen while James took the children to the park to expend some of their boundless energy before the main evening meal. "What time is Victoria scheduled to arrive?" Lauren inquired, skillfully chopping celery for the stuffing. "Dinner is at 9 and it will be just us, Marcus, and her. That's the current plan," I stated. "A fabrication, but a necessary one." Lauren was silent for a moment before remarking, "I genuinely dislike this. I know I've voiced this previously, but my unease is profound. What kind of woman readily accepts an invitation to spend Christmas Eve with her ex-boyfriend and his wife?" "Perhaps the kind who has no other recourse," I suggested. "Or the kind who desires something she cannot have," Lauren countered. She pointed the knife in my direction. "I will be observing her. If she even casts a single suspicious glance at Marcus, I will firmly address the situation. I am quite serious, Ara. You are sometimes excessively accommodating, far too trusting. If only she knew. If only she comprehended that I am no longer accommodating or trusting, but something entirely different, something cold, calculating, and ravenous." "Please allow me to handle it," I implored. "Fine," she sighed, "but I reserve the right to declare 'I told you so' should this endeavor unravel." "Duly noted," I responded, and my attention refocused on the lamb. The afternoon crawled by with an almost unbearable slowness. I meticulously set the dining table using our finest china, the set my grandmother had presented to us as a wedding gift. White plates with delicate gold trim, crystal glasses and silver flatware that I had polished to a brilliant sheen. I arranged 8 place settings. Marcus noticed. 8? He questioned. There are only 6 of us, correct? You, me, Lauren, James. 7 with Victoria's inclusion. And the 8th, I explained. I always set an additional place, an established tradition, as a contingency for unexpected guests. He shrugged and returned his attention to the football game. At 7:30 p.m., I checked my phone. A text message arrived from Alex. On my way, parking a few streets away, awaiting your signal. I replied 9:30 p.m., not a minute earlier. And Alex, thank you. Don't thank me just yet. Express your gratitude once I've ensured they face retribution. Precisely at 8 the doorbell chimed. Marcus sprang to his feet. I detected a flicker of excitement in his expression before he artfully concealed it, with a more appropriate demeanor. That must be Victoria, he stated casually. I'll get the door. I moved slowly toward the entryway, relishing the moment. This is it, the inception of the end. I opened the door. Victoria Hawthorne stood on my porch, and she was undeniably stunning. I had, of course, seen her photographs, but in person she possessed an even more striking presence. Tall and slender, with dark hair styled in flawless waves. She was attired in a cream-colored sweater and dark jeans, an ensemble that was both casual and exuded an air of expense. She held a bottle of wine and a bouquet of flowers. Hello, she greeted, a warm, practiced smile gracing her lips. You must be Marcus's wife. I'm Victoria. Thank you so much for extending the invitation. I absorbed every detail. The subtle tension in her shoulders, the slightly too bright, too alert quality of her eyes, and the ostentatious engagement ring on her left hand, which she had deliberately left in place, perhaps a strategic maneuver or a deliberate test. Please come in, I invited, stepping aside. We are absolutely delighted you could join us. She stepped across the threshold, bringing with her a gust of cool air and the faint aroma of designer perfume. Marcus materialized in the hallway, and I observed the exchange of glances between them. It was fleeting, lasting only a second, but I witnessed it. The palpable longing, the shared familiarity, the unspoken secret that bound them. My smile remained unwavering. Victoria, Marcus announced, stepping forward to offer her an embrace. It was brief and seemingly appropriate, yet I noticed his hand linger a fraction too long on her back. I am so pleased you could make it. Thank you again for the generous invitation, she responded. She then turned her attention back to me. Your home is truly lovely. Thank you, I replied. Allow me to take your coat, Marcus. Please offer Victoria some wine. I hung her coat in the closet. Expensive cashmere, I commented inwardly, and then led her into the living room, where Lauren and James were expertly managing the boisterous children. Victoria, allow me to introduce my sister Lauren, her husband James, and their children Emma and Luke. Lauren rose to her feet, and I watched as she assessed Victoria with a discerning eye. They exchanged handshakes. It's a pleasure to meet you, Lauren stated, her tone polite yet decidedly cool. Likewise, Victoria replied. Your children are absolutely adorable. The small talk flowed effortlessly. Victoria demonstrated considerable skill in this regard, charming and attentive, posing all the pertinent questions. She offered compliments on the interior decor. She expressed admiration for the Christmas tree. She briefly engaged with the children, who were immediately captivated by her. Marcus watched her with an almost unconcealed adoration. It was utterly repulsive. At 9, I announced that dinner was prepared. Everyone migrated to the dining room. I had dedicated hours to ensuring its impeccable presentation. Candles flickered in ornate candelabras, a verdant centerpiece adorned the table, and the food was arranged in a manner befitting a grand feast. "This is absolutely astonishing," Victoria remarked, settling into her chair. Marcus had artfully positioned himself next to her, directly opposite me. Lauren occupied the seat to my right, her gaze still keen and observant. We began serving the meal, passing the platters, and refilling the wine goblets. Everything exuded an air of refined composure, an almost deceptive normalcy. Marcus lifted his glass. "I'd like to propose a toast," he announced, "to family, to cherished friends, and to the joyous spirit of Christmas. And, of course, to my remarkable wife, who orchestrated this entire magnificent occasion." "To your wife?" Victoria echoed, her eyes meeting mine. A subtle challenge pulsed between us. She seemed to relish this moment, this position at my table, partaking in my sustenance. All while engaged in an illicit affair with my spouse, I offered a return smile. "To new beginnings," I declared. Our glasses chimed in a gentle clink. We commenced eating. The culinary creations were exquisite. The lamb, succulent and tender, the accompanying dishes, bursting with flavour, all meticulously prepared and presented. "So, Victoria," Lauren interjected, her tone casual, "Marcus mentioned you're a therapist." "Indeed, I am," Victoria confirmed. "My specialization lies in family and couples counseling." "How profoundly fitting," Lauren mused, her voice barely audible, yet I caught every syllable. "It's a profoundly rewarding profession," Victoria continued, seemingly unfazed. "I assist individuals in navigating intricate relationship dynamics, resolving communication breakdowns, and confronting issues of trust." "Infidelity," she added, the word lingering in the air. Was this a deliberate provocation, or was she genuinely oblivious to the inherent irony? "Infidelity must present a particularly challenging subject to address therapeutically," I commented. "I mean assisting people in reinstating trust following a deep betrayal." Victoria inclined her head. "Trust forms the bedrock of any partnership. Once fractured, its restoration becomes exceedingly difficult." "And do you believe it's capable of being mended?" I inquired. "Repaired?" She paused, considering. "At times, if both individuals are committed to absolute honesty. However, more often than not, the betrayal is merely a symptom of underlying, more profound issues. Some unions are simply destined to dissolve, never meant to endure." "Remarkable," I stated. "What a rather somber outlook." "I prefer to consider it realistic," she countered. Marcus observed our exchange with palpable unease, sensing an undercurrent he couldn't quite decipher. 95, 5 minutes, I thought, my phone nestled in my pocket. I had provided Alex with the access code for the side entrance and precisely instructed him on his arrival time. All that remained was for me to send the signal. "If you'll excuse me," I announced, rising from my seat, "I need to check on the dessert." I retreated to the kitchen, retrieved my mobile device, typed the word "now," and dispatched the message. Then, taking a deep, calming breath, I smoothed the fabric of my dress and re-entered the dining room, a serene smile gracing my lips. "The dessert will be ready in just a few moments," I informed them. "But before that, I have a special surprise." Marcus looked up, curiosity piqued. "A surprise indeed. Do you recall your suggestion that we embrace a more inclusive approach this Christmas, making it even more festive?" "Yes," he replied slowly. "Well, I've taken your counsel to heart. I've invited another individual to join our festivities, someone I felt truly belonged here." Victoria's fork froze midair, halfway to her mouth. Her gaze locked with mine, and for the first time, a flicker of genuine apprehension crossed her features. Who? Marcus began to ask. The side door creaked open. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Every head turned. Alex Ramos entered the dining room. He possessed the kind of tall, distinguished bearing common among surgeons, impeccably neat and professional. He was dressed in a dark sweater and jeans. His eyes were noticeably bloodshot, as if from recent tears or a sleepless night. He fixed his gaze on Victoria. "Hello, sweetheart," he said, his voice eerily tranquil. "Surprise!" Victoria turned a ghastly shade of white, the colour draining from her face so completely I feared she might collapse. "Alex," she whispered, her voice strained. What are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" His laughter was sharp and hollow. "I was invited by your lover's wife." Marcus shot to his feet so abruptly his chair scraped backward with a clatter. "What in the world is going on?" "Please sit down, Marcus," I said gently. "We've only just begun." "And who is this?" Marcus demanded, his gaze darting between Alex and me. "This," I stated, "is Dr. Alex Ramos, Victoria's fiancé, or perhaps you were unaware of her engagement." A profound silence descended upon the room. Lauren's jaw slackened. James looked utterly bewildered. Fortunately, the children were occupied in another room, engrossed in a movie. Marcus whirled to face Victoria. "Fiancé?" Victoria was shaking her head, a frantic denial. No, Alex, what is she talking about? Why are you here?" "Don't you dare!" Alex retorted, his voice laced with steel. "Don't you dare deceive me any further. I've seen the proof. I've read the correspondence. I am aware of Marcus. I comprehend everything." "Messages?" Marcus stammered, his complexion shifting rapidly from pale to flushed and back again. "Victoria, what is he referring to?" "Oh, you don't know either," Alex mused, turning his attention to Marcus. "Your girlfriend here has been involved with both of us. You believed you were her sole paramour. I presumed I was her devoted fiancé. It appears we've both been thoroughly duped." "That's not accurate," Victoria protested, rising to her feet, her voice now shrill. "Alex, I have no idea what she's conveyed to you, but I certainly haven't supplied him with any information he couldn't independently verify. The photographs of you and Marcus at the Beltline Bistro, the Marriott, those conveyed the narrative quite effectively," I interjected. Marcus's eyes snapped to me, a look of dawning horror. You knew?" "Oh, my dear," I responded, my tone dripping with saccharine sweetness. "I've been aware for months." The ensuing silence was so profound it felt deafening. "You knew?" Marcus repeated, his voice utterly devoid of emotion. "Since October the 15th, I confirmed, our anniversary. Remember the evening you returned home, faintly scented with her perfume? I discovered the messages while you were showering." Lauren stood abruptly. "Excuse me? What?" "Marcus, you've been deceiving my sister." "Lauren, Marcus began, but she cut him off. "With this woman?" Lauren gestured towards Victoria, "the very one you saw fit to invite to our family's Christmas Eve gathering." "It's not." "I can explain," Marcus pleaded, his gaze lost as he shifted his attention between us all. "Oh, this is going to be immensely entertaining," Alex remarked, folding his arms. "Pray tell, Marcus, enlighten us all on how you've been intimately involved with my fiancé for the past 6 months." "6 months?" I chimed in, tilting my head. "Alex, my darling, it's been considerably longer. The messages date back 6 months, but you've been rekindling your connection for at least a year, haven't you, Marcus?" Marcus looked as though he were about to retch. "And Victoria," I continued, turning to her, "I must confess I'm quite impressed. Juggling 2 gentlemen simultaneously, that requires a certain aptitude. Alex here, what does he earn? 4 times Marcus's salary, perhaps. Yet Marcus provides that emotional resonance, that shared history. Why choose when one can have the best of both worlds? You're utterly deranged, Victoria declared, though a tremor ran through her voice. Am I? Let's find out. I retrieved my phone. I have meticulously documented everything: text messages, photographs, hotel receipts. Marcus, you carelessly charged them all to our joint account. Assuming, I presume, I was too dim-witted to notice. I began reading from my device. She doesn't understand you like I do. You're the one I truly desire. It has always been you. I eagerly anticipate the day we can be together openly. Stop, Marcus commanded. Oh, but we've only just reached the most compelling part, I countered. June the 15th. Do you recall that date, Marcus? His expression confirmed he did. For those not privy to this detail, I announced, addressing the entire assembly, June the 15th marked the unfortunate occasion of my second miscarriage. I was in the hospital bleeding profusely in sheer terror that I might succumb. And Marcus, he abandoned me. He claimed an urgent work emergency. I then displayed the photograph on my phone for all to see. This depicts Marcus and Victoria checking into the Marriott at precisely 2:47 in the afternoon, while I was in the throes of losing our child. Lauren gasped audibly. James uttered an expletive. Even Alex appeared momentarily stunned. Marcus's face crumpled. It wasn't like that. You were distraught, I finished for him. You needed to engage in clandestine encounters with your former paramour while your wife was fighting for her life. Say it. Be truthful for once in your wretched existence. My heavens! Lauren exclaimed, moving to my side and placing a hand on my shoulder. Marcus looked at me, truly looked at me, and in that instant I witnessed the dawning realization that he no longer recognized the woman before him. Why? He inquired. Why did you remain silent? Why orchestrate all of this? Because, I replied, my voice glacial, you needed to comprehend the sensation of being blindsided, of having your entire reality disintegrate before your very eyes, with everyone you care about witnessing your true nature. I proceeded to the Christmas tree, retrieved his gift, returned, and presented it to him. Open it, I instructed. No, truly, unwrap it. With hands that trembled visibly, he revealed the contents. Divorce papers scattered across the table, intermingling with the remnants of our ill-fated dinner. Merry Christmas, I stated. You have been served. Victoria began to move towards the exit, but Alex intercepted her path. And where do you imagine you're going? He inquired. This is beyond absurd, she declared. You're all completely unhinged. I'm departing. Not quite yet, I said. Our evening is far from concluded. You see, there is one final revelation. I produced another envelope. This one bore an address for the Georgia Board of Examiners of Psychologists. This, I announced, constitutes a formal complaint lodged against Victoria Hawthorne, a licensed professional counselor, for egregious ethical violations, specifically for engaging in conduct that tarnishes the reputation of our esteemed profession. I have meticulously documented your affair with Marcus, including precise dates, times, and locations. Furthermore, I have included sworn testimony detailing how you exploited your professional expertise to manipulate him, advising him to conceal your clandestine relationship from his emotionally vulnerable wife. Victoria's complexion turned a sickly grey. You can't possibly, she stammered. They will undoubtedly revoke my license. Or at the very minimum suspend it, I concluded. You would be wise to consider a new career path, Victoria. Perhaps something that doesn't necessitate adherence to ethical codes. You, Victoria hissed. Watch your tone, Lauren warned, stepping forward protectively. That's my sister you're addressing. the sister whose husband you were intimately involved with, the sister whose hospitalization you exploited for a fleeting dalliance. Alex let out a sharp, bitter laugh. And to think I was contemplating marriage to you. My word, what a colossal fool I've been. Alex, please, Victoria implored, turning to him, tears beginning to well in her eyes. I love you. He means absolutely nothing to me. It was merely a lapse in judgment. Alex raised a hand, silencing her. Just cease. I've had more than enough of your falsehoods. He withdrew the engagement ring from his pocket, likely having retrieved it from her residence, and dropped it onto the table. It bounced once before landing with a soft plop into the gravy boat. We are finished, he declared, and before you attempt any further damage control, you should be aware that I have already contacted your mother. I've apprised her of the entire situation. She is profoundly disappointed. Victoria emitted a choked sob. How does that feel? I inquired, turning to her. To have your entire existence dismantled before a captivated audience? To have individuals beyond your control privy to your deepest secrets? She offered no response. She merely snatched her purse and bolted towards the door. We heard it slam shut, followed by the distinct roar of an engine starting and tires squealing as she made her hasty escape. Alex stood there for a moment, appearing adrift. I apologize, he said to me. I'm truly sorry you had to endure such an ordeal. Thank you for attending, I replied. I understand it couldn't have been easy. They deserved it, he stated firmly. Both of them merited that reckoning. He glanced at Marcus, who remained frozen in place, clutching the divorce papers. You are a coward and an imbecile. I trust you will eventually comprehend the magnitude of your loss. With that, Alex departed as well, exiting with considerably more grace than he had entered. This left Marcus and me, alongside Lauren and James, the sole witnesses to the ensuing devastation. Leave, I instructed Marcus, my voice a low, resonant command. This is my residence, he countered weakly, but there was no conviction in his tone. This is my residence, I reiterated. Kindly consult the deed. My grandmother provided the down payment. The house is legally registered in my name, and according to the divorce documents you're currently holding, it remains mine, along with half of all other assets, including any funds you expended on Victoria. You cannot possibly mean that. I have secured the services of an exceptionally competent legal counsel who asserts otherwise. Furthermore, I possess irrefutable proof of your appropriation of marital funds for your illicit affair, which affords me considerable leverage. You have two distinct options: sign the papers and accept my terms, or contest this in court, thereby making all of this a matter of public record. The choice, Marcus, is entirely yours. Marcus surveyed the dining room, the exquisitely appointed table I had meticulously arranged, the now cold culinary offerings, the array of wine glasses, some depleted, others still full, the gravy boat with its unexpected diamond adornment. I never intended to cause you harm, he murmured. But you did, I replied, my voice laced with sorrow. You shattered me, and you lacked the basic decency to offer me the truth. You reduced me to a mere fool, the naive wife utterly oblivious to her husband's infidelity. You allowed me to weep in solitude for our lost children while you were with her. My voice faltered on the last word. The icy shell that had encased me for so long began to crack. I'm sorry, he whispered. Apologies are insufficient, I stated. Now please depart my home. He seemed poised to utter further words, but Lauren stepped forward decisively. You heard her. Leave. James rose as well, his presence silent yet imposing. Marcus was outmaneuvered, outmatched, and he understood it implicitly. He gathered the divorce papers, strode into the hallway, and retrieved his coat. At the threshold, he paused and turned back. I love you, he declared, a final plea. I do not believe you, I responded. I suspect you have no true comprehension of what love entails. The door swung shut behind him, its closing echoing through the house, and then the dam finally broke. I slumped into a chair, burying my face in my hands, and began to sob uncontrollably. All the pain I had meticulously suppressed for months erupted forth. Lauren was instantly by my side, her arms enfolding me, holding me together as I disintegrated. I've got you, she whispered, her voice a gentle balm. I've got you, little sister. You're safe now. James had vanished, and I heard him conversing with the children, keeping them diverted. Sweet James, ever astute in knowing precisely what to do. I wept until my strength was utterly depleted, until my throat felt raw, my eyes swollen, and my chest ached from the sheer force of my anguish. Eventually, I raised my head. I'm all right, I managed to say. You are not, Lauren replied softly, but you will be. I surveyed the dining room, the elegant table I had set, the now chilled repast, the wine glasses, the gravy boat with its sparkling diamond ring. What a catastrophe! Yes, Lauren conceded with a nod, but you did it. You stood up for yourself. You compelled them to confront reality. Was it truly worth it? I questioned, or did I simply orchestrate the ruin of everything out of sheer spite? Lauren remained silent for a beat. Then she said, What did they leave you with? A husband who never truly loved you? A marriage founded on deceit? A future built upon betrayal? You haven't destroyed anything of value. You have merely cleared the ground for something infinitely better. I yearned to believe her words, to find solace in the notion that this profound suffering served a greater purpose, that the ashes of my former existence would nurture something new. Yet, in that moment, surrounded by the wreckage of our Christmas Eve dinner, I felt an overwhelming emptiness. June the 15th, the somber anniversary of my second miscarriage, the date marking Marcus's most egregious betrayal. However, this year, it held a distinctly different significance. I stood before the vanity in my newly refurbished master suite, now my suite, in my home, and scarcely recognized the woman gazing back at me. I was thinner, somehow sharper. Her eyes held a depth they had lacked previously. Not precisely hardness, but a distinct clarity, the kind that emerges after witnessing one's cherished illusions consumed by fire. 6 months had passed since that fateful Christmas Eve gathering. 6 months since I had detonated my life and observed its fragments scatter. The aftermath had been excruciating. Marcus had acquiesced to the divorce proceedings within a single week. He had little recourse. Vivian Porter had pursued the matter with relentless tenacity. She meticulously documented every hotel expense, every dinner, every piece of jewelry he had procured for Victoria using our joint funds. In the end, Marcus departed with his vehicle, his wardrobe, and approximately 30% of our combined assets. I retained the house, the savings, and my hard-won dignity. He made a few attempts at apology in the initial weeks. I deleted his lengthy emails unread and trashed his voicemails. He once appeared at the house, prompting me to contact the authorities. Following that incident, all communication was funneled through our respective attorneys. I learned through mutual acquaintances that he had attempted to reconcile with Victoria after the entire affair had imploded. Apparently, he had arrived at her loft, bearing flowers and effusive apologies, speaking of how they could finally be together now that all barriers had been removed. She, however, had slammed the door in his face. Victoria, too, faced her own set of considerable challenges. The ethical complaint I had filed had initiated a thorough investigation by the Georgia Board of Examiners of Psychologists. They concluded that she had been actively conducting therapy sessions while simultaneously maintaining an affair with a married man, a clear and undeniable violation of the ethical standards she had pledged to uphold. Her license was suspended for a period of 2 years, and she was mandated to undergo her own therapeutic counseling and extensive ethics training before being permitted to reapply. Her practice had consequently collapsed. The Family Wellness Center had terminated her contract with immediate effect, unable to countenance the ensuing scandal. Her professional reputation, painstakingly cultivated over a decade, was irrevocably shattered within a matter of weeks. She had absconded from Atlanta. I heard whispers that she had retreated to Tampa, her tail tucked between her legs, to reside with her mother, the very woman who had expressed such profound disappointment upon learning her daughter was both a deceiver and a homewrecker. Alex had made contact with me once. Approximately 1 month after Christmas, we met for coffee, two wounded souls comparing their lingering scars. "I still want to loathe you," he confessed, stirring his espresso, "for dragging me into that dreadful ordeal. But I can't. You quite possibly saved me from making the most catastrophic error of my life." "How are you?" I inquired, returning the question. He offered a slight shrug. "Some days are better than others. I believed I loved her, or rather, I loved the person I perceived her to be. It transpires that such an individual never truly existed. I understood that sentiment with absolute clarity." "And you?" he then asked. "Any regrets?" I had given it considerable thought. "No," I finally stated. "I regret the marriage itself. I regret squandering 7 years on someone who utterly failed to appreciate my worth. But the dinner, the public exposure, they needed to face accountability. Individuals of that ilk cease their transgressions only when compelled to do so." Alex nodded. "For what it's worth, I believe you are remarkably courageous. Brave, or perhaps unhinged? Perhaps a combination of both. The most exceptional individuals often embody such qualities." We parted amicably, or at least as allies, bound by our shared experience of being betrayed by the same two individuals. Now, 6 months hence, I was still piecing together the fragments of my existence. However, I was also diligently constructing something entirely new. The house itself felt transformed. I had undertaken a comprehensive redecoration, systematically eradicating any lingering traces of Marcus's presence room by room. The bedroom we had once shared was now a sanctuary adorned with soft greys and tranquil blues, featuring new furnishings and bedding that he had never touched. His former office had been repurposed into my personal art studio. I had resumed painting, a passion I had abandoned years prior because Marcus invariably required the space for his elaborate gaming rig. I had relinquished all freelance graphic design assignments and had launched my own design agency. It was modest, initially comprising only myself and 2 employees, but it was unequivocally mine, established on my own terms, and it was flourishing. Therapy had proven indispensable. I commenced sessions with Dr. Elena Rodriguez, and the irony of seeking counsel from a specialist in couples therapy, given my recent past, was not lost on me. Merely 2 weeks after Christmas, she had assisted me in unraveling the complex tapestry of my emotions, the profound trauma of betrayal, and the intricate grief associated with the loss not only of a husband, but also of the envisioned future. "You are mourning a death," she had explained during one of our initial consultations. "The demise of your marriage, certainly, but also the annihilation of your trust, your innocence, and your unwavering belief in the narrative you had constructed about your life." Her assessment was accurate. I had been in a state of profound mourning, but slowly, painstakingly, I was also commencing the arduous process of healing. Lauren had been my unwavering anchor throughout this tumultuous period. She remained for a full week following Christmas, assisting me with the arduous task of packing Marcus's belongings, offering comfort during my tearful episodes and persistently encouraging me to eat when food tasted like ash. She called every single day for months, simply to ascertain my well-being. "I am exceedingly proud of you," she informed me just last week. "What you accomplished required immense fortitude. Many women would have simply endured in silence, feigned normalcy, and allowed themselves to be systematically dismantled. Not you. You fought back with remarkable resilience." I had indeed fought back, and I had prevailed, yet the victory sometimes felt hollow, particularly on those more challenging days, because truthfully I had never aspired to be a warrior. My deepest desire had been to be a devoted wife, a nurturing mother, a woman content with a simple, joyful existence. However, that idealized life had been an elaborate fabrication, and this present reality, though messy, painful, and undeniably authentic, was now unequivocally mine. My phone emitted a soft buzz, a text message from an unknown number. My stomach tightened perceptibly. Occasionally, Marcus attempted to contact me from different devices, but upon opening the message, I realized it was not from him. "Hi, I realize this may seem peculiar, but I felt compelled to express my gratitude. My name is Jennifer. I was dating Marcus." Was indeed the operative word. He had neglected to mention his recent divorce until I discovered your number within his blocked contacts list and initiated some discreet investigative work. When I confronted him, he attempted to fabricate a story, but I subsequently unearthed the divorce records. I simply wished for you to be aware that I have spared myself considerable distress thanks to your meticulously documented evidence. Thank you for possessing the courage to meticulously record everything. I stared at the message for a prolonged moment. I responded, "I'm truly sorry you had to endure that situation, but I'm immensely relieved you uncovered the truth before he could inflict significant harm. Best of luck to you." Marcus, it seemed, was already attempting to distort the past and actively seeking his next target. The realization twisted my gut, yet simultaneously reinforced my determination. I had made the correct choice, a stark, agonizing, and very public one, but it was the right choice. Had I opted for a quiet separation, keeping his indiscretions hidden, he would have emerged unscathed, portraying himself as the wronged party in a failed union, and Victoria would have continued her work, guiding impressionable individuals while harboring a fundamental deceit. Instead, both had to confront genuine repercussions. This wasn't perfect justice, which life rarely bestows, but a significant reckoning. I checked the digital calendar on my phone, June the 15th. Exactly 1 year prior, I was hospitalized, grieving the loss of a child, while my husband was with another woman. It had been the most devastating day of my existence, yet I had persevered. I had overcome every obstacle. I dressed, donning my athletic attire. My running regimen began in February, a necessary release for the anger and sorrow that still surged unexpectedly. Now I completed 5 miles each morning, pushing my physical limits until my mind found tranquility. As I secured my shoelaces, I reflected on the person I was 12 months ago. Naive, trusting, believing that devotion and fidelity were sufficient. Convinced that if I was sufficiently kind, patient, and understanding, everything would resolve favorably. That version of myself was no more, extinguished and buried beneath the debris of that disastrous Christmas gathering. The individual I am today understands that certain people do not merit patience, that responding to disrespect with maturity is merely a form of condoning mistreatment, and that sometimes the only fitting reaction to profound betrayal is total devastation. I stepped out into the vernal morning. The air was crisp, carrying the fragrance of the roses I had cultivated in the front garden. My roses, my garden, my existence. I commenced my run, my feet finding a steady cadence on the familiar route through the neighborhood. As I moved, I sensed an internal shift. It wasn't quite forgiveness. I hadn't reached that point, perhaps never would, but something akin to acceptance. This was my narrative now, not the idyllic fantasy I had envisioned, but something far more intricate and authentic. A saga of treachery and resilience, of shattering and reconstruction, of retribution and atonement. And unlike the story Marcus and Victoria had attempted to craft, where I was relegated to the role of the simpleton, the impediment, the woman too devastated to perceive what was unfolding directly before her, this story belonged to me. I had seized control of the account. I had authored the conclusion, or perhaps not the definitive end, perhaps merely the close of one chapter and the commencement of another. My phone vibrated once more, another message, this time from Lauren. Don't forget about dinner tonight at our house. James is grilling. The kids miss their cool auntie. A smile touched my lips. Cool auntie? I found the notion appealing. I replied, wouldn't dream of missing it. Bringing wine. Make sure it's the good stuff. We're celebrating. Celebrating what? Lauren texted back. 6 months divorced, 6 months of zero tolerance for nonsense, 6 months of embodying the strong, self-reliant woman I always knew you were. Tears welled in my eyes, but they were tears of profound gratitude. I ran with greater speed, my exertion intensifying, feeling my heart pound and my lungs burn, experiencing a vitality I hadn't felt in years. Because that is the nature of betrayal. It possesses the power to annihilate you. Indeed, it can reduce you to absolute nothingness, leaving you questioning every tenet of your self-perception and your understanding of the world. Yet it also possesses the capacity to forge you into something more formidable, something indomitable. Marcus had presumed my fragility. He had weaponized my sorrow, my vulnerability, and my trust against me. He had fundamentally misjudged my capabilities. I rounded the bend, returning towards my residence, moderating my pace to cool down. A vehicle was parked in the driveway, a silver sedan I didn't recognize. My defenses immediately elevated, but then the driver's door swung open, and a young woman emerged. She appeared to be around 25, with fiery red hair and a hesitant demeanor. She stood beside her car, evidently awaiting my arrival. Can I assist you? I inquired cautiously. Are you Whitfield? She asked. Well, I responded, I suppose I'm not Whitfield any longer. I'm Anna. This is exceedingly awkward. I'm a friend of Jennifer's, the woman who contacted you this morning. She informed me about what Marcus did to you, and by extension to both of you, I suppose. And She paused, taking a deep breath. I work at the Beltline Bistro. I was a server there last year, and I frequently observed Marcus arriving with a woman who was not you. I even served them on a couple of occasions. They were always quite affectionate, and I distinctly recall thinking how regrettable it was that he was so clearly engaged in infidelity. My heart began to race again, though not from the exertion of my run. I was unsure how to proceed. Anna continued, I didn't know you personally. I hesitated to approach you. Frankly, I felt it wasn't my concern. However, after Jennifer recounted the events, your courageous act of exposure, She retrieved her mobile device. I took photographs of them together. I'm not entirely certain why at the time. Perhaps a part of me suspected that proof might be needed someday. I saved them. She extended her phone towards me. I examined the display. There sat Marcus and Victoria, nestled in a secluded booth at the Beltline Bistro, his hand resting possessively on hers across the table, both captured in laughter. The date stamp read March of 2022, more than 18 months prior, long before I suspected their entanglement had even begun. There are more, Anna stated softly, from various dates. I can forward them to you if you wish. I simply thought you should be aware. in the event he attempts to claim it was a brief affair, or not serious, or whatever fabrication he's currently peddling. I looked at this young woman, a stranger who had harbored this secret for over a year, and was now presenting it to me as a gift. "Thank you," I managed, my voice thick with emotion. She promptly emailed the images to me right there on the street. My phone vibrated repeatedly as the files transferred. Evidence, corroboration, ammunition. Should Marcus ever contemplate challenging the divorce settlement or attempting to rewrite history, I would be prepared. "Why are you doing this?" I inquired. Anna offered a shrug, because men like him often get away with it. They deceive, they betray, and they simply move on to the next conquest, with no one holding them accountable. But you did. You held him accountable, and I wanted to contribute to ensuring he cannot wriggle out of the consequences. She returned to her vehicle, but before departing, she lowered the window. "You're something of a legend. Do you know what you accomplished on Christmas? Jennifer told me the entire account. It's circulating. Women speaking to women, providing warnings. You've likely spared numerous individuals considerable pain." She then drove away, leaving me on the pavement with a phone full of undeniable proof and a heart brimming with an emotion that bordered on hope. I entered my home, showered, and settled at my laptop. I opened a new document, gazing at the pristine, empty page. For months, people had inquired about my willingness to document the ordeal. Friends, my therapist, even a literary agent who had somehow learned of the story secondhand and deemed it worthy of a book. My consistent response had been refusal. The experience was too agonizing, too deeply personal, too raw. But there on the sidewalk, hearing Anna refer to me as a legend, realizing my story was being shared and was positively impacting other women, perhaps the time had finally arrived. I began to type. My husband informed me that his ex-wife would be joining us for Christmas Eve dinner. Be mature about it. I nodded naturally. What he was unaware of was that I had already extended an invitation to her fiancé, transforming the gathering into an event no one in my family would ever forget. This is the narrative of how I discovered my husband's infidelity, orchestrated my retaliation, and reclaimed my life. The words flowed from me with a speed that outpaced my typing. The entire saga, from uncovering the messages on our anniversary to the confrontation on Christmas and the still unfolding aftermath. I wrote for hours, pausing only when my fingers cramped and my eyes burned. When I finally looked up, the sun was descending, casting my studio in hues of orange and gold. I had produced 30 pages brimming with truth, pain, anger, and ultimately survival. I saved the document. My beautiful vengeance, draft 1. My phone alarm chimed. Time to prepare for dinner at Lauren's. I closed the laptop and stood, stretching. My body ached pleasantly. It was the sensation of having purged something toxic. As I dressed, I contemplated the future, the genuine future, not the idealized version I had clung to throughout my marriage. I wasn't certain what that future would entail. Perhaps I would complete the book. Perhaps I would encounter someone new eventually, someone truly deserving of my trust. Perhaps I would remain single, build an empire, and become the eccentric aunt who doted on Lauren's children. The only certainty was that my life would be authentic. I gathered my keys and the bottle of expensive wine I had purchased for the evening, a genuine celebration, and headed for the door. As I closed it, I cast a backward glance at the house, my sanctuary, my new beginning. On the porch, I paused, took a deep, cleansing breath, and smiled. It wasn't the smile of the woman I had once been, gentle, trusting, and naive. It was the smile of the woman I had evolved into, sharp, strong, and unbreakable. The smile of a woman who had endured betrayal, who had been shattered, who had navigated the depths of hell and emerged on the other side, reforged in fire. I entered my car and drove towards my sister's residence, towards the laughter, the family, and the love that was genuine and unwavering. The sun set behind me, and ahead the sky was already deepening into twilight. Stars beginning to emerge. Behind me, the past. Ahead, the unknown. And for the first time in a year, I felt no trepidation. I was prepared. The book ascended to the bestseller list 3 weeks after its publication. My Beautiful Vengeance: How I Exposed My Husband's Cheating and Reclaimed My Life resonated with readers in ways I could never have anticipated. Thousands of women contacted me, sharing their own accounts of betrayal, expressing gratitude for the courage I had instilled in them to stand up for themselves. I participated in interviews, appeared on podcasts, and a streaming service acquired the rights for a limited series. Throughout it all, I continued to construct my life. My design agency expanded. I hired 5 additional employees. I purchased a vacation home on the coast. I traveled to Paris, Tokyo, Barcelona, all the destinations Marcus had always vowed we would visit someday. I journeyed alone, and it was an experience of unparalleled joy. Marcus attempted to sue me for defamation upon the book's release. His attorney dispatched a cease and desist letter, asserting that I had damaged his reputation. Vivian Porter chuckled when I presented her with the letter. "Everything in the book is factual and documented," she stated. "Truth constitutes an absolute defense. Let him sue. We will bury him." He did not pursue legal action. The letter was mere bluster, a final desperate gambit to control the narrative. He was powerless to do so. The truth was out, and it had liberated me. As for Victoria, I learned she had relocated to a small town in Florida and was employed as a receptionist at a dental clinic. Her therapist's license had been permanently revoked following the revelation of a second ethical transgression. Apparently, my family was not the first she had contributed to dismantling. I felt no schadenfreude in her downfall. My vengeance had been served. My point had been made. Beyond that, she served as a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that actions invariably carry consequences. Alex reached out when the book was published. He had read it and expressed his gratitude for my decision to alter his name and for treating him fairly in the telling. "You could have portrayed me as an imbecile," he wrote, "but you treated me with respect. I genuinely appreciate that." We had cultivated a genuine friendship over the past year, bonded by our shared experience and mutual healing. He had begun dating someone new, a nurse at his hospital, who was kind, genuine, and utterly unlike Victoria. They appeared content. And me? I stood in my studio gazing at the canvas before me. I had resumed painting, truly painting, not merely dabbling. This work was abstract, a riot of reds and blacks and sharp white lines, embodying pain, rage, and survival, all swirling in a chaotic symphony. My phone rang. Lauren. "Hey, little sister," she said upon my answering. "What are your plans for Christmas this year?" Christmas? The word no longer carried a sting. It no longer evoked images of shattered wine glasses, confrontations, or the end of everything. Now it simply signified family, true family. "The same as last year," I replied. "A small dinner. You, me, some friends perhaps." "Perfect. The kids are already asking if you're going to make that chocolate cake again." Naturally. We chatted for a few more minutes, making arrangements, sharing laughter over trivialities. A normal, beautiful, sisterly conversation. After I ended the call, I looked out the window at the nascent snowfall. December in Atlanta, the city transforming into something pristine, white, and new. A year ago, I had intentionally demolished my life at a Christmas Eve dinner table. I had annihilated my marriage, exposed 2 deceitful individuals, and walked through flames to reach the truth. And now, precisely 1 year later, I stood amidst the ashes, surveying what I had meticulously constructed from the ruins. It was beautiful, not the beauty of innocence or naive optimism, the beauty of resilience, of strength hard won through suffering, of a life rebuilt upon a bedrock of truth rather than falsehoods. I picked up my paintbrush and added another stroke to the canvas, a line of gold slicing through the darkness, a challenging stroke, genuine hope. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Thank you for your book. I discovered messages on my husband's phone last night. I was going to feign ignorance, but then I remembered your story. I'm going to confront him tonight." I texted back, "You don't need luck. You need courage, and you already possess that. You've got this, and if you need assistance, reach out. You are not alone." Because that is what surviving betrayal accomplishes. It connects you to every other soul who has traversed that arduous path. It fosters a network of warriors, all of us scarred yet standing tall. I placed my phone down and gazed at my painting. My life, Marcus had endeavored to break me. He had lied, betrayed, and wielded my pain and my love as instruments against me. But I had survived. More than merely survived, I had flourished. And that, in the end, was the most profound vengeance, not the cathartic Christmas confrontation, satisfying as it was, not the equitable divorce settlement, fair as it proved to be, not even the critically acclaimed book. The ultimate vengeance resided here, living vibrantly, embracing happiness, and constructing something authentic and exquisite from the wreckage he had created. I was whole once more, fundamentally altered from my former self, bearing scars but imbued with greater strength, wisdom, and bravery. And I had accomplished this independently. I smiled, that smile now unequivocally mine, hard-earned and genuine. I turned back to my canvas. I had work to do, a life to inhabit, a future to forge. And this time I was the author of the story. No more beautiful deceptions, only the beautiful, unvarnished, honest truth. And that was sufficient. It was more than sufficient. Did you enjoy my narrative? And from which city are you listening? Let's connect in the comments. If the story resonated with you, kindly consider supporting my work by sending a super thanks, enabling me to continue bringing you more tales of this nature. I am immensely grateful for your thoughtful support. I eagerly anticipate your comments regarding the story. On the screen, you'll find 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. My channel offers a wealth of additional content. Please remember to subscribe. Until our next life story, with love and respect,